All right. And we're at the What Are You Made Of show, guys. Welcome. And I'm going to kick it off today, first of all, by welcoming everyone. This is the second episode on Fireside of the What Are You Made Of broadcast. I did a show yesterday solo. I was all by myself. I was lonely, but I was sharing my story. I had some people in the audience kicking it. Some days we'll have some people in studio. Some days we won't. But more importantly, we're going to record this here because I like the quality of this once it works properly. Or actually, I'll take full responsibility once I figure out how to work it properly, and we'll get it going. But you guys, you know, we're going to jam here with the What Are You Made Of show and then turn it into a podcast again and broadcast it all over the world. And we're going to repurpose this content. We're going to bring great guests to you. And today's show on the What Are You Made Of show is a friend of mine I met at an unbelievable event. It was called Project 10K Elite, where 16 entrepreneurs came together, and we all brought 3 tech ideas with us, and we whittled them down to about 12 or 13 ideas in 2 days. Like it was like high pressure, get it done, 2 days, and it was an unbelievable experience. And my man Scott Donnell's here. What's up, Scott?
What's up, C-Roc? Good to see you again, my friend.
You too, man. Look, Scott's a visionary entrepreneur who has created many leading companies in biotech, fintech, education, entertainment industries. His expertise is in creating new industries, recruiting the perfect team, and building self-multiplying companies. He's been featured in Bloomberg, Fox, NBC, The Wall Street Reporter, and Entrepreneur, Franchise 500, and What Are You Made Of podcast now. Got him in the studio now. Scott, listen, we always start this show the same way every time, and that is with this question right behind me. I put it on the wall in case I forget. What are you made of, man?
Nails.
I've never heard
I'm made
that
of
one
nails,
before.
my friend. I think resiliency and grit are some of the most important things on the planet. I'm writing a book right now about kids, because that's my world, is helping develop. We've served over 7 million families in my companies. And if you can help kids learn to create value in the world, and you can teach them what it means to overcome, to have resilience, to have perseverance, and you can do that without trauma, and you can do that in a loving environment, kids are set for life, man. Like this is what I'm made of. Like that is probably one of the most important things I see for the world, is getting families and kids to think this way. And so, yeah, man, nails.
Look, I love this. I didn't have this clapping feature in Zoom when I used to do this podcast here. So Kim's just clapping.
That was
for
the fastest clap. That was a 2-clap clap.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, she must want you to do something. Like, you know, like,
yeah, that's right.
Come on, let's go. So look, so nails, I love it. And here's the thing, man, like I've been hanging around a lot of successful people over the last 4 or 5 years, learning from them, watching them, observing them, studying their behaviors. And interviewing them. And if the thing I keep seeing over and over again is the ones that are successful are the persistent ones. Like quit's not even an option. And what I want to ask you about though, and I think you just kind of nailed it, but I want to dive deeper into this. Like the reason that they don't quit, how do they have that persistence? Why can they? And like, where does that come from? Because most people, they just quit. It's the way it is.
Man, I got to tell you, the only way you can fail is if you give up, like truly fail, right? Like I'm a huge fan of failure. I actually think, nobody should try to fail, but the more you try things, the better you get. And there's going to have to be failure in it. And I think people don't really quite understand this, because a lot of times people are scared of what they're going to look like. They're scared of what others are going to think. They're scared of, not saving face. They're scared of losing money or time or effort. But man, I tell you, the people that I know, the most successful entrepreneurs, the most successful parents, the most successful coaches are always trying, and they're always continuing. They never give up. And you have to just not fear the no. You have to not fear, things having to go a different direction. In all my companies, every single one of my successful companies, whether they're 8-9 figure exits going public, we failed like 20, 30 times. We had to pivot, because you're asking the market, do you like this? Do you want this? Does this serve you and benefit you? Does this give you a better future? How are you going to know unless you test and fail? So when I say fail, it's not like don't go lose $1 billion of all your network and friends' money,
Right.
but go try things. Like, go ask people, go be curious, go be of service to other people. That's the only way to add value. I mean, I cut my teeth selling door to door, cookbooks, man. My mentor was like, go do the hardest thing you can sell and do it like for 6 months and get rejected 1,000 times. And I'm not scared of a no anymore. In fact, it makes me hungrier. It makes me more excited because it's one step closer to the next yes. It's a numbers game. It's a testing game. And did you know that Facebook does 10,000 tests a day?
They did a lot, but I didn't know the number, 10,000.
They do 10,000 A/B tests a day. And so does TikTok now, and so does Twitter. But they're always testing, like hooks, features, algorithms, colors, buttons, fonts. Like, they're testing 10,000 times a day. And they're successful, a handful. That's it. And those are the ones that win. And I think, Kevin Harrington always tells me this. He's like, look, man, you don't need every single thing to be a crazy success. You need 1 in 10, 1 in 20. That's what's going to happen. And those ones are 100x. They're 200x. They're 500x. One of my companies went 800x. So, and it was because we just tried and tried and tried, and you just don't give up, man. You just don't give up.
Yeah, I've seen it. Jared Yellen's a friend of ours, and I've seen it with him in the last 2 years, just kind of watching what he's done with Project 10K, and it's metamorphosized. He's tried things, and when it doesn't work, he doesn't sit there and pout. He just moves on to the next thing. And I've been this way in my life too, but I wasn't really aware of what I was doing. But when I watched Jared and I observe him as he's going through this stuff, it's like, nobody remembers what he tried and didn't work. Now, he learned from it, his team learned from it, but nobody else out on the outside remembers. So who cares what people think, right? So Scott, before we go any further with this, I got to dig deeper with you, man. Like, I want to go back because we sat in a social club in Miami, smoked some cigars and talked, and we got deep with things. I want to know, where did this all start for you? Like, where did life start for you? What was it like growing up, family, all that? Let's go back a little ways, man.
Yeah, man. So I born and raised in the San Juans, north of Seattle. So I grew up on Whidbey Island. I come from 4 generations of serial successful entrepreneurs, from 100 millionaires to billionaires. My grandpa sold Interwest Bank to Wells Fargo. He built it from scratch with my dad. They grew it to thousands and thousands of people, sold it for, 1.2 billion or something like that to Wells Fargo in 2001. He became Ronald Reagan's bank chair long time ago. So I grew up sharing papers. Right? Yeah. But here's the thing. They put it all in a charitable trust for charity, for ministry, for widows and orphans, man. Our family for 4 generations builds unbelievable value in the world and doesn't pass it on, because wealth transfer in our family is a detriment. There's ways to do it well, but there's a lot of ways that can go wrong. And so they taught me to fish. And so my first business was in 8 years old, 3rd grade, making bead gecko keychains, and all my classmates making them and not going to lunch or recess. And I get suspended because they're not going outside. They're making my keychains. So my supply line gets cut and I have to go home. And instead of punishing me, my dad took me out for a steak dinner. He's like, this is what you should do for the rest of your life. So I've been a born entrepreneur all the way through. And when I started dating my wife, Amy, she's a 1st grade teacher. And my whole life, so this is entrepreneurship. If anyone wants to know what an entrepreneur does, it just finds and fills needs in the world. That's what an entrepreneur does. They're curious. They look around. They have the guts and the confidence to say, you know what, I can solve problems too. Because that's all you're doing. You're solving problems for a profit. And that's what creates value in the world. So all my companies are just massive needs that I've identified in the world that are the deepest things I care about. And then I try to research and find a value add proposition, a market product fit that will serve hundreds of millions or billions of people. So that's my life. So my wife spends her first paycheck on her 1st graders back in 2010, right? I'm like, why did you just waste your whole paycheck on your first graders? She's like, oh, that's what we all do. That's like part of being a teacher. Like they're angels. They're all angels, man. And so, not only did I marry her for that reason, but I said, we got to fix this issue. And the only thing at the time was like these product sales. We all grew up selling chocolate and pizza and magazines and all that kind of stuff. Well, those companies take like 80% of the money. The teachers don't get anything. Like the kids learn nothing. The parents hate it. And it's not healthy. So we started Apex Fun Run, Apex Leadership Co. So we went around, we started in Arizona here in Phoenix where I live now. Started doing fun runs and teaching leadership and character traits in schools. It was basically their annual leadership curriculum for free. We do massive fundraisers.
To the teachers, not the kids, right?
No, to the kids in the classrooms.
Oh, to the kids too? Okay.
In the classrooms, teach the kids. Okay. We'd be at recess, lunch, PE. We're putting on this whole huge program. And it ends with a giant race. Big blow up tunnels. Everyone gets a jersey. We're ticking off their laps, sound makers for the parents, all these fun playlists. Like we brought in, we had 600 employees by the time we sold it last year. We just grew it nationwide. And it was because it just hit so many of these, needs in the schools. So it was like all students included. They were raising 2 to 3 times as much money as they'd ever made. Every school we've ever worked with, tens of thousands now across America. And it was hassle free. They didn't have to do any work. It was leadership and fitness. So it wasn't like unhealthy crap, right? So it just exploded. So now Apex is basically like the premier school fundraising company in America. So, we started franchising it. It exploded. We were top 100 fastest growing franchises for many, many years. And every year we would continue to solve problems, continue to make it easier, help our franchisees, help our schools. And, it just created this unbelievable cyclone. And, now we've got 7 million families that have been through the program. Absolutely love it. It's, one of my favorite.
Have that company?
We just sold it last November.
Okay. So let me ask you this, for going back to the beginning of it, because a lot of people listening will wonder like, okay, you had this idea and then you implemented it, but like, what was the first step? Like, where do you start? And then where do you go from there? Like, how do you start it and then know when to like grow it and scale it? Like obviously short story, long story short.
Yeah. Well, with all my new companies now, I have a directive. We have a real strategic plan in place where I bring in, my job is to get 0 to 1, right? Like with GravyStack, which is our new bank for kids and education, or the biotech companies and stuff. I want to get out of the CEO seat as fast as possible. So I am building the team around me. I'm getting the product market fit. I'm making sure it's profitable and beginning the scale process. So all the tech, all the IP, all the teams, all the ops, the finance, the marketing, getting those things in line, having everybody move towards directives for very, very specific goals. And then I bring in a world-class CEO to take over for me. I do that now in my companies, and it's working like a charm. But back in the day when I was just getting going, I had no idea. So I was wearing 9 hats. I didn't raise anything. Like I never raised a penny. I owned most of the company. And I just found amazing people that were bought into the mission and the vision of transforming schools across America and helping millions of kids learn leadership and fitness. And those people were diehard loyal, unbelievable. Nick Moore was incredible. Jeremy Barnhart partnered with me for franchising it nationwide. He's been like the linchpin of the whole thing. And then all these incredible franchisees and team members that just love the mission of our company. I mean, every year at our annual event, people are crying every time they're on stage because they're pinching themselves that they get to do this for a living, right? So you got to get the right team around you. And then what we did when we just got going, we actually created like a cheap fake website. Not fake, it was a real website, but you know what I mean? It was like, we just threw it up there.
Yeah.
And I got 4 people that were in education who trusted me that said, I think they gave me a testimonial. It was like, I think Scott's going to do what he says he's going to do. And then we just hit the pavement. And I went to 90 schools. Like I just dropped into the PTAs and the principals and tried to sell them on this program and learn just from all my door-to-door sales time and all my ability to sell. I was able to get the first 16 people to say yes. And that was our whole first year with our first team. And then it just started growing from there. And each school we'd work every 2 weeks, new school. and we just built it from there. We charged them $1,000 to sign up. So we had 16 grand in working capital to build out some of the tech, get the prizes. I put my name down for like 40 or 50 grand on a loan to buy the prizes from Alibaba, from Ken and Barbie in like Japan and Hong Kong, and just a million crazy stories of failures everywhere. But the thing just kept growing along the way. I mean, I ordered flying monkeys. I ordered 100,000 flying monkeys one time from South Korea. Those things where you pull them back and you chuck them against,
100,000.
They go flying, and then when they hit the wall, they make a monkey sound. Well, they sent us a fake sample, and the fake sample looked perfect. So we ordered 100,000 of them, and when they showed up, they were not as promised. Like, you pull the thing back, and they would break and snap it in your eye. And then all the eyes were cross-eyed with like these terrible stitches and seams, and it would hit the wall and break and make these crazy it sounded like the monkey was suffering. I mean, it was hilarious, man. But we like wasted the whole thing. It was terrible. I lost a whole shipment in the Pacific, a whole cargo ship full of prizes. No idea where they are to this day. Like, just the craziest things, websites crashing with 40,000 people on it, competitors suing us for no reason because they wanted to try to like jump us and beat us competitively, like just the craziest stories. But that's why you got to be made of nails. You just keep moving forward, find a solution. My first year doing it, I brought in this woman who was the PTA president at one of our schools. Her name was Lisa Barnhart. Her husband was Jeremy, who partnered with me to franchise it. They raised $75,000 at their school doing our program. The most it ever made was like 15 or 20. Man. And they were like, this is insane. And then she's like, hey, can I invite some of my friends to the event? And they're at other schools. They're at PTAs at other schools. I'm like, yeah. So she brings 4 friends, and they all booked. It was like $100,000 like booked right there. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're my sales director. And she's like, okay. So she ends up, blowing things up. Her husband comes in, Jeremy. He's been incredible franchising. We bring in franchisees from all over the country. We're in 45 states now. It's just an incredible story of as you go. We built it for 10 years. People always overestimate what they can do in a year, but they severely underestimate what they can do in 10.
That's huge right there. Man. I wish I had a sound effect for that one. Let me see. Let me get you. There we go. Woo. All right. That's huge.
The delayed clap. Great. Yeah.
I mean, I'm still getting used to this Rodecaster Pro, man. I got this thing and just having fun with it, learning it. So, but because I forget that I have it, right? And I'm like, oh shit, I got a Rodecaster Pro. Let me, and it's like, oh shit, there we go. So a couple things I have to ask you though. Having the successful family that you had, did you ever feel like you always had a safety net though? Because think about the risk that goes in entrepreneurship.
I had a lot of support. I don't know if it was a financial safety net though. It was a confidence safety net. People don't understand. Like, money in our family is not the currency. The currency in our family is add value, create, build, support, serve other people. So I had everyone's full support, even though they had no idea what I was fully doing or if it would be successful at all. They're like, man, go, just run. We got your back, right? Like, I don't need their financial support. I need their emotional and their spiritual support. Like, that is worth more than anything. We always have I have about a core group of 50 people that back me through prayer, through emotional support, sometimes through investment now with the new companies, but they back me in everything I do. And now I have a great group of investors that, whatever Scott's doing, we're in. Those kind of folks, because they know what I can do. Everyone who's ever given me $1 makes $8, right? Like, so when you build that reputation, it builds your own confidence, right? Like, I never had to feel like it was handed to me on a platter. Or is this really me? Or do I have those fears or anxiousness if it was handed down, or I got an easy step forward. I have all this emotional support and training from the family that really brought me up. And that's really the advice I give to families, which is make sure your kids feel loved, valued, and safe, and then give them all the support and confidence you could possibly give them and let them run. And if you teach them to be able to create value in the world, right? I look at value creation in 3 ways. This is what my new book is going to be about. Spiritual value, emotional value, and material value. And if you can teach kids to think about the world that way, while knowing that their worth and their value is non-negotiable, right? Because it doesn't matter what you produce, that doesn't dictate your value. But being of service and creating value for others is the best way to live. And what that does for kids is it gives them confidence. Like mental health issues go out the door. Like they just leave because kids are like, I'm being valuable in the world. I'm serving other people. I'm happy. I'm excited to do it. They love it. And they don't get scared about their future. They're excited about their future. They have an abundance mindset, right? Instead of a scarcity mindset. And I think that there's, 50 million families in America that don't think this way, right? It's like, are we going to get by? Are we going to make it? Will my kid be successful? Are they ready for the real world? Are they going to get the right job and get in the right college? It's like, man, you're thinking about it all wrong. Just to help your kids learn to create value in the world. And they'll have all the confidence, and then they'll learn their unique ability too, right? The more kids try things and build things and create things and even sell things and try things, the more they're going to find their unique ability and what they're called to do in the world to create value for others. That's what we should be focusing on. Not getting your kids in $100,000 of debt to try to get into some school that they're going to get some like basket weaving dance theory degree, right? Like you want to make sure your kids are like adding value in the world. That's the point of all.
100%, man. And I'm with you on that. And let me give you another. There you go. I got to get some better sound effects. I got some of these other ones here too. Like I'll ask somebody like, hey man, they were talking about you. And they're like, who? And I go, these nuts. I'm so immature, man. I got that one. I got some other ones. I'm on Clubhouse all the time. I'm messing around with people. You remember that, right? That never gets old to me. My kids do it all the time still. I don't know. But
there's a huge difference. There's a huge difference between childish and childlike. That was one of the best pieces of advice I ever got from one of my mentors.
That's good.
Never lose the childlike. It's perfect, man.
Yeah. Well, look, what's certainty versus uncertainty? What is your go-to when you have uncertainty creep in?
So for me, I actually use a tool called the Certainty Uncertainty Filter from Dan Sullivan. So if there's any entrepreneurs listening, you want to 10x your life, go to Dan Sullivan with Strategic Coach. It's unbelievable. All my friends are in it. I've been in it for 7 years. And he has this tool called the Certainty Uncertainty Filter. And he taught me something that I've used ever since that's been of an incredible value for me. And he basically says the things that you're uncertain about are actually the raw materials for success. Those are the obstacles that when you overcome them, they're not obstacles, they're opportunities for success. And so what I like to do in all of my companies or processes or issues that come my way is do a certainty uncertainty filter, which means I'm trying to solve for this problem, right? And here's what it looks like if it's done successfully. Now I've got it teed up. Now I'm going to write down all the things I'm certain about this possibility, right? Or this problem, whatever. Here's what I know. And then here's what I don't know, right? Here's what I'm uncertain about. And then with those, when I just list them all out and I dump everything, leave nothing out. When I get that list of things I'm uncertain about, now I have a roadmap. So I can say, all right, here's my next step to making sure that thing that I'm uncertain about becomes certain. And then who's the who, right? I'm a who finder. That's my unique ability. So who's the person or the who in my network that can solve that uncertainty and turn it into a certainty for me? And so I do this almost weekly. I'll take a project or a problem or a process we're trying to fix, and I'll do the certainty and the uncertainty. And then I have my list of action steps to solve the uncertainty and who's the who that I can either hire or bring in or a team member or call to just ask for advice to get that to be certain. And once you've moved those things over to the certainty column, your likelihood of success goes through the roof. And so that's
confidence
really
goes
how
in.
I look at uncertainty. All progress starts by telling the truth. And a lot of people avoid it, man, whether it's avoiding pain or fear or lack of sleep at night. They try to, avoid the uncertainties, and they avoid the hard conversations. They avoid the relationship pain. They avoid the addiction. They avoid the failing business process that's not adding value. They just avoid it because it's hard. They procrastinate. But if you can create a lens where it's like, actually on the other side of all those things is incredible freedom. So I want to attack those things first, right? I'm the first guy to call out the truth. I'm the first guy to call out the uncertainty. We've got a meeting coming up today with GravyStack, which is our new company, the banking game app for kids and families. It's what I was born to do, man. And I'm going to be sharing my 3 uncertainties. Here's what I don't understand. Here's what I don't fully get, and here's how we need to solve them based on doing the process. So yeah, man, I think all progress starts by telling the truth. That's how people grow, and that's how incredible value is unlocked in the world.
So you go to this group today, right? And then you've gone through this exercise and you have the ways you think you can solve these, but do you also open it up to them for answers as well of what they're thinking, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Got it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So I'd say, all right, guys, I'm uncertain about our ability to create mini games in the app, right? Because GravyStack, I don't know if anyone knows what GravyStack is, but we're building the world's first bank as a game for kids with a debit card. So it's a real bank account with all the traditional banking stuff, but we threw out everything that doesn't work for basically everybody, but mostly for kids. So we don't have checking accounts because no kid's ever going to write a check. That's ridiculous. We don't have monthly statements because only 8% of the population looks at them. And so we have something called a money machine that shows their flow of money in and out. They get their save, spend, and share accounts where they can do real investing. They have their debit card on their spend. It's like guided for them to teach them the right spending habits. We have their share account, which hooks up to every nonprofit in North America. And you see the flow of money from all their revenue pipes, home gigs and matching, and when they get their first W-2 and they're like 16 or whatever. And it shows that flow in and out. And then we have a whole series of 100 games that the kids play to become fully financially competent. Save, spend, share, earn, invest, protect, borrow, if borrowing or the issues with borrowing, how to create value, skills, and traits. And so what I'm going to be talking about today is, we're pretty good on the first 4 or 5 levels, but we have a lot of work to do to finish the rest of the 10 levels when we go live at the end of the year. Our MVP comes out November 15th, and then we're going live to the world in January of 23. So there's a lot of work we got to do, and some of the systems are behind. And so my uncertainty is, how can we increase our pace of creating great mini games inside of the app? We have all the content we want. We have the subscription hunts and the family travel planning challenges and the investing challenges. These are real life things, not fake. They're real. And we want to increase the pace at which we can code and develop them so that we can stay on schedule. And this is a huge unknown that nobody wants to talk about in the company. So I'm going to be bringing up the uncertainty and saying, here's my ideas on how to fix it. Where are the holes? What else can we do? What ideas do you guys have?
Love it, man. Love it. Yeah. So this is all stuff that I know deep down, but it makes it on the surface, and it makes me more aware of it. And I'm going to go through that exercise myself today, actually. So
I'll send it over to you. I'll send the tool.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, man. And by the way, as we wind down, this is one of the most important things I want to talk about. I think it's the most important thing in life. And you and I talked about this a little bit while we were hanging out in Miami. Spirituality. You brought this up. Where did your spirituality journey start? And then did you ever have a feeling like of a rock bottom at some point where you just you just had to let go and just surrender? And I know you're a believer in God, I'm a believer in God, but was there one moment, or where did it start? Or, I know it's all the time. I know we got to remind ourselves, we pray every day and we surrender and remind ourselves to surrender. But was there one catalytic moment?
Yeah, this is a whole hour in itself, but I'll shrink it. But God got a hold of me at a young age, and he's built me ever since. And I think a lot of what it means to have faith is to surrender to God's plan. And if you really do understand who God is, he loves us, right? He sent his son to die for us. He created us. Like you love your kids? Of course you love your kids. Like you would die for your kids. That's what God views us, and to an infinite degree. And so I think a lot of life is surrendering to God's plan and having the faith and hope and trust that it's all going to be okay. And he has a plan. And I love entrepreneurship for that very reason. People ask me why I'm an entrepreneur. I'm like, well, it brings me to my knees. It makes me have more faith and trust. And that's my favorite part about it, is you just have to surrender, because it's kind of funny. People talk about entrepreneurship. Joe Polish said this the other day. He said, entrepreneurship is like walking into the darkness while chewing on nails, hoping that there's no cliff in front of you. And so it's just a funny way to think about, like, yeah, that's what happens when you create things in the world. Like if you want to innovate, if you want to develop, if you want to serve people, you don't know how they're going to respond. You don't know what the right path is. And that's what gives me faith. That's what makes me have that faith. My mom said this when I went off to college. This is a funny story. My mom and dad dropped me off for college, and the last comment they gave to me, my dad gave me he shook my hand, and in his hand was a $50 bill, and all he said was, "Tip well." And then he got in the car. And that was the last thing he said before college, before my adult life began. And then my mom, which has a million lessons in it right there. My mom walked up, she gave me a big hug and a kiss, and she said, "If it doesn't point to Jesus, what's the point?" So that was a powerful statement that I've never forgotten. And it really is true. Like, if it doesn't point to Jesus, there's no point. Because at the end of the day, Jesus stands for love, valuing others above yourself, surrender, caring for other people, and loving them the way you want to be treated. Like, that's it. That's the point of life. So yeah, man, I mean, that stuff leads me every single day.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love it. All right. Well, we could go on forever and ever and ever and ever, but this show does have to end at some point. Scott, I want to thank you for coming on here. And I want to thank everybody that did pop in the audience, and also everybody watching the replay or listening to the podcast. Thank you so much. I appreciate all your support for everything that we're doing. I mean, we got a lot going on as well. I'm learning a lot from people that I start to meet, like Scott, that had been through a lot of this stuff, because I started this entrepreneur journey with multiple companies. I was with one company for a long time in the mortgage space, but this multiple company thing, it didn't start till about 2-3 years ago. So I was a little late bloomer, but that's okay, because now I'm moving fast, and I have a saying, thrust is a must, because the window is shrinking and I got to get a lot done in this period of time. But I'm going to keep bringing guests like this to you guys. And I hope that you guys go check Scott out. GravyStack out will be out in 2023. Excited for for all of your kids to get involved with that, so we can start making them more financially literate. Scott, thank you so much for joining us today, man.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure. Thanks, man.
All right. Thanks. You guys have been listening to the What Are You Made Of podcast and show here on Fireside and on your favorite podcast platform. Please subscribe, follow us on Fireside, follow us on your favorite podcast platform. Go subscribe and keep coming back, man. We're going to keep bringing it to you just like I always do. It's your boy C-Roc. Until next time, be unstoppable. Let's go.